What is energy flux and how are you able to eat more calories and get leaner? So in this video, I'm going to walk through exactly what energy flux is and how I utilize it in my clients' programs to get the leanest body fat percentage they've ever been and eat the most food that they ever have. So my name's Adam Bundle. I'm an online fat loss professional. I specialize in hormonal priming, body recomposition, and higher level forms of nutrition through metabolism manipulation called metabolic priming. I've helped dozens of guys in the past get to the leanest body fat percentage they've ever been, get unstuck from fat loss plateaus using actual data, metrics, KPIs to make decisions weekly based upon what we should implement into their programs to get to the leanest body fat percentage they've ever been. But this video, we're going to explain a little bit in depth about what energy flux is. So right now, if you're probably watching this, you're probably eating low amounts of calories. So what are you going to do? Reduce your calories until you stop losing weight? You've already stopped losing weight. What are you going to do? Go to 1,500, 1,000? You're just going to keep reducing your calories to 500. So the fad diets in today's society has pushed you to the point where you're doing unsustainable diet approaches like keto, carnivore, intermittent fasting, and you just kind of hit a plateau, right? So there's a better way to do it, and it's called energy flux, right? So what energy flux is in a basic nutshell is that basically it's increasing your metabolism, right? So think about this in perspective. Think about if you're eating 3,000 calories and burning 3,000 calories, opposed to eating 2,000 calories and burning 2,000 calories. So you would think that it would be exactly the same. Well, technically, if you have your basal metabolic rate backing you up, it's kind of like icing on the cake, right? So within my clients' plans, I structure each of their plans accordingly to help their body actually burn more food and actually utilize their BMR, right? So eating more food to burn more calories. And there's certain properties of this that's more beneficial and more sustainable long-term because one, you're not starving yourself, right? You're not getting to an unsustainable point in calories where you just kind of fluctuate back, and you're not putting your body in a position where you're highly, highly sensitive to actual carbohydrates to where like anytime you eat a carbohydrate or anytime you go out to eat with some friends or family, you just kind of gain it right back. So, there's a better approach to doing it, and using actual data, metrics, and KPIs to make decisions weekly. And there's certain, strings you can pull in each of my clients' programs that help their basal metabolic rate increase and helps them actually burn more calories. So, if you simply just raise calories, you're probably going to gain weight, right? But you have to have certain, strategies in place to help your body burn those calories at the same time, right? So all of my clients are paired with an actual structured training program that actually is based upon exercise science to help them increase muscle tissue, right? So increasing muscle tissue in general will give you a good spike in metabolism, right? Because basically muscle tissue is highly glucose absorbent, yes, but it's also a very metabolic part of the human body, right? It takes 8 calories to sustain 1 pound of muscle tissue, 2 calories to sustain 1 pound of body fat. So having more muscle tissue allows your body to burn more calories at rest, right? So when you lose weight, your metabolism slows down. It's the essential function of the human body to, protect us against starvation mode. Think about prehistoric times when we didn't know when our next food was coming or our next meal was coming. And so the body starts to down-regulate your metabolism, the burning of food, so it can simply, supply the basal metabolic rate, the essential body functions of breathing, blood flow, sleep, and organ function, enough food to actually survive. So, caloric restriction today comes in the form of actually people hypercalorically restricting themselves, trying to get to a leaner body fat percentage, and they get to the point where they hit the hole of 2,000 calories and doing tons of cardio, and they induce a bunch of inflammation of oxidative stress on their body, and their body just starts to kind of fight back, right? So the reason why oxidative stress and cortisol levels of inflammation are bad in the body is because one, stress and cortisol is the number one leading factor from prohibiting you from actually losing body fat, right? Like sleep is, a powerful supplement when it comes to reduction of cortisol levels. But cortisol levels will actually restrict you from gaining muscle tissue. So mitigating actual cortisol levels in the body in the form of making sure that your body is getting put into a good parasympathetic state to actually put in a state of healing to reduce lactate in the body will help with your metabolism, going up because you're increasing muscle tissue, right? And you're putting the body back into a state of a healing, right? So the parasympathetic nervous system, or the sympathetic nervous system is like they like to call it, also regulates epinephrine and adrenaline, right? So why is epinephrine and adrenaline extremely beneficial and extremely important when it comes to losing body fat? Quite specifically, there is 2 mechanisms to losing body fat: mobilizing body fat and oxidizing body fat. So let's say how do we mobilize body fat? So mobilization of body fat comes from the actual release of fatty acid triglycerides from the fat cells into the bloodstream to be oxidized, right? So the main mechanism of mobilizing body fat is actually epinephrine and adrenaline. So you've probably been training in a training program for probably months on end, and you just kind of hit that plateau. It doesn't feel the same anymore, and that's your body kind of adjusting to the training program, right? So with my clients' plans, I do 6-week plans, so where we switch them up every 6 weeks, so we're constantly getting a good stimulus of epinephrine and adrenaline to allow their body to mobilize body fat. During this time, we're also increasing calories, which is increasing muscle tissue, which is increases basal metabolic rate, right? So as we're increasing all these things, we're not only getting their body to absorb more calories, we're also getting the body to absorb and build more tissue, allowing the body to get put back in a sympathetic state, to release epinephrine and adrenaline, to mobilize body fat, right? So on the opposite of things, how do you oxidize body fat? So the oxidation of body fat actually comes from the actual burning of the actual body fat in your bloodstream, because you can't just mobilize body fat. If you mobilize body fat and you don't oxidize it, it'll just go right back into fatty cells, right? So you need to be able to understand how oxidation of body fat works. So oxidation of body fat works when you pair a good, cardio regimen with some of my clients. And it depends what type of client they are and like where they've been doing, what their body looks like, how much their body's inflamed. But there's certain zones of cardio you can utilize. Zone 1 all the way through zone 5. So the higher the intensity cardio you get, the more you actually utilize a substrate of carbohydrates, right? So zone 3 is typically like your weight training, right? You utilize more carbohydrates, right? You mobilize more body fat. And like HIIT training is, a little bit even into zone 4, right? So the higher that you get in, actual cardio though, you produce more lactate and you increase more inflammation and oxidative stress and adrenal fatigue on the body. So the best possible way to oxidize body fat is doing a zone 1 or zone 2 cardio, like walking, right? Walking is quite literally one of the most beneficial things to actually burning body fat because it utilizes a substrate of fat, right? Zone 1 and zone cardio utilizes fat. So I did a study, and they showed that actual lower intensity cardio as opposed to higher intensity cardio burns 40% more fat, right? So, along with that, so we got their training program, releasing an epinephrine and adrenaline. We got a good cardio routine that's, modularized to them based upon how they look, how they feel, and where they're at, and what substrate of energy they need to utilize. Was the last thing we need is obviously the nutrition factor, right? So increasing their calories slowly and getting their basal metabolic rate to skyrocket in the form of actually utilizing food is extremely important too. So the most important factor is actually the protein intake, right? So protein intake in general has a higher thermic effect, which means that it takes 30% of the actual protein you eat gets actually broken down in the calorie conversion digestion process, right? So basically, let's say that you eat 100 calories worth of protein. 30% of that will actually get broken down in the calorie conversion process. So having a higher protein intake means your body burns more calories at rest, right? Doing absolutely nothing. So, they did an actual study on a higher protein intake group and a moderate protein intake group. And the higher protein intake group actually burned more body fat. It's similar to the over-the-counter fat burner, right? So having a higher thermic effect within your food actually allows you to burn more calories, right? So all of these certain substrates that I use within my clients' plans, customized to them with their own customized training program, the macronutrients to fit their lifestyle, the macronutrients in the form of how much protein they need to oxidize more body fat and utilize more thermic effect. Because the other calories, other macromolecules play an important role as well, right? So like fat intake modularizes hormone levels and regulates T3, T4 metabolism, thyroid, and also testosterone. It's also the regulator in digestion. And then carbohydrates help actually put your body into a parasympathetic state, into a state of healing, and help reduce lactate levels, right? So pairing this, customized training program, customized nutrition program, and also giving them a customized approach to oxidize and mobilize body fat is quite literally like the reason why my clients are at 1,600 calories per day. They're down 15, 20 pounds. And you can go check a ton of my testimonials down below. Every single one of my clients are up in calories and down in weight. or in leanest body fat percentage they have ever been, because I use actual data, KPIs, and metrics to make my decisions bi-weekly on how we should actually structure their training program going forward. And, like with the one-size-fits-all diets like keto and carnivore, there's like really no updating them, right? You just get to the end of the road, you're hungry, you get starving. Like, how much better would your life be if like you had 3,000 calories to work with on a day-to-day basis rather than 2,000? The reason why my program's so sustainable is like I put my clients in a position of like a metabolic, advantage to where they can eat more calories and stay leaner, right? And that's how they see long-term sustainability and longevity, right? So increasing your metabolic rate and putting your metabolic rate in a good position to burn calories, and also doing, forms of cardio or even, weight training to keep your body burning more calories in the active energy expenditure, department, helps with overall metabolism, right? So the reason why we covered these 3 areas today is because, one, your metabolism is made up of 3 different areas, right? 60% is the basal metabolic rate, right? That's the most important factor when it comes to metabolism. But the other factors that are at play are going to be, 1, the thermic effect of food, right? We just talked about, which is protein. Carbohydrates have a 10%, and then fats have a 3%. The other one is actual active energy expenditure, which is like, 15% of your overall metabolism. So like utilizing all 3 of those together, that's how I'm able to get my clients leaner, bigger, stronger, and eat more food, and, lose the gut and eat more food, right? So, there's a certain reason why I do all this with my clients, because I take a more sustainable approach than most coaches. I don't just tell my clients or try to get my clients to lose 20 pounds right off the bat. I put them in a position where they're building muscle tissue, they're losing body fat, because people, like, you guys don't really care about what you look on the scale. If I told you that you could be exactly the weight you're at right now, but 6-pack shredded, you wouldn't give a damn, right? You care about how you look, right? And I get my clients to look the best that they ever have, not lose a shit ton of weight, because you don't have a weight loss problem. People have a fat loss problem. People want to lose fat. They want to get lean. And it's not always just about losing weight, because you need a good set of muscle tissue to maintain hormone levels, to, maintain good testosterone levels in men. And if you're simply just trying to lose weight and you just lose a bunch of muscle tissue, get caught in the skinny fat phase, and now your resting basal metabolic rate has lowered over time, and now you can't eat as much, and now you're starving, and now you put your body into a state of metabolic parel, right? So that's the reason why I utilize all these approaches to get my clients to the leanest body fat percentage they've ever been, using energy flux, taking advantage of their metabolism, eating more food, training program, and actually utilizing the substrate of zone 1 through zone 5 cardio to get them there. So if you guys are struggling right now, under 2,000 calories, you got an inflamed gut, you got a ton of inflammation, and you just keep spinning your wheels for the last, months, years, how long has it been? There's going to be a link from you to sign up down below to actually jump on a one-on-one call with me. I'll break down exactly where you're at, what's going on with your body, kind of give you a depiction on why you're at where you're at and why you're stuck, and I'll help you implement some sort of strategy to raise your basal metabolic rate and actually stay leaner long-term without having to starve yourself. If that sounds like you, go ahead and sign up for a time. We'll break it down. If it's a good fit for us to work together, I'll build you out some higher level strategy, show you what it look like to partner up, and I'll get you to the leanest body fat percentage you've ever been. So hope you guys like this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Go check out my free metabolic priming training below, but I'll see you guys next time.